Oh yeah. All right, this is my very first YouTube Live, and I'm very excited to have people joining me. I'm going to talk today about how to go from $0 to $1 million in sales. And we're going to start at exactly noon, so that's in 6 more minutes, but I wanted to start the chat so that anyone who wanted to jump in would get notified and that you'd be invited to come. So I'm going to, as you filter in, test this out, and I'm going to pull up my slides right here, which I'm going to write on this, let's see, whiteboard. Here we go. Let's see if this will work. To go from 0 to $1 million in revenue. We're going to go through 3 steps that I used to go from 0 to $1 million. Let's just see if I'm doing this right. This is my very first. This is so fun. So fun. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to go from 0 to $1 million in annual revenue in your business. And I'm going to talk about the 3 steps that I took to be able to do that. And the webinar technically starts in 5 minutes. So if you are waiting, then I'm just letting you know that we're going to start in 5 minutes. But I wanted to start this off, that way people would get notified and would know and be reminded that the webinar is starting in 5 minutes. So we're going to use this handy dandy whiteboard right here, and I'm going to go through the 3 steps that I took to be able to go from 0 to $1 million in revenue. And then we're going to apply it to your business. So if you have a business and you want to grow it in sales, we're going to talk about what does it take, and I'll share some of my personal stories so that you understand, like, hey, it's normal to go through a really hard, time, to go through the ups and the downs of starting a business. It's actually very challenging. So I wanted to share my personal story and be able to encourage anyone who's out there on the internet. And this is my first YouTube Live, so forgive me if I have any technical difficulties. I'm trying to figure this process out. So we're going to be starting in 4 minutes. For anybody who doesn't know me, I am Emily Page, and I 5 years ago started my own business called Pearl Resourcing, and I had $0 in revenue when I started that business. And the reason why I started that business was because I've always wanted to have my own company. I've always wanted to be my own boss. And I had worked for many different years, 6 years plus, in product development, working as an executive in project management for the Perfect Bite company. And before that, I had worked in fundraising. And before that, I had done research through economics. And in each of my jobs, I was desperately interested to know how to build a business and how to create income. How do you actually create income and wealth so that you can take care of yourself and that you can do the things that you're passionate about? And so in each case, I was trying to learn how to do that, and I was leading other people. So I was being, when I worked for the Perfect Bite company, they kept promoting me from project manager all the way up to vice president of operations, because I was able to give advice that was really helping them to grow their business. And so I learned by teaching other people or helping other people when they were the ones building the business. And then when I finally went through a really hard time, I went through a divorce, I had some family members get sick. I had lost some money because I had given it to the person I'd been married to for a big move. I had quit my job so that I could go move with them to Hawaii to be in the military, and because he was in the military. And so I had nothing at the time when I started my first business. So I was looking for something that would give me motivation, would give me purpose. And I was at a networking event. I was trying to look for new jobs, and I met a guy who was selling his business, his packaging company. And he didn't really have any revenue, but what he did have was relationships, like a history. There was a few clients that still ordered stuff, but it was really a history of him having done packaging for Hershey's and for ProFlowers and all types of international CPG companies. And so he was selling this business and the relationships, the book of business. And so when I met him, I thought to myself, why wouldn't I take this opportunity to buy that book of business and go and start my own packaging company? And the idea got into my head. And so I pitched this idea to this gentleman. His name was Patrick. And he said to me, there's no way you could do this. And he was sort of joking around, but he didn't think I was serious. And so I thought, I have to do this because this person doesn't think I can. and because I didn't believe that I could. So I took some of my savings and I went to a local trade show that I had heard, that I knew about from other work that I had done. And I took his samples and I said to myself, okay, if you can get an order, Emily, you're going to buy this business. And so I went around telling everybody, I am Emily Page. I own Pearl Resourcing. I'm the CEO. Now, I had not legally started a company, and I did not know everything there was to know about packaging at that time. But that was actually really an important part of my building process that I want to share with you, no matter where you're at in your business, that the desire to succeed and the desire to do whatever it takes, and to just believe that, you know what, if this is supposed to be what I'm going to do, that it's going to work out. So I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take a risk. And that was important for me. So I went around telling everyone I own this company and trying to sell packaging. And by the end of the show, I had met every single person. I had cold called by walking into every single trade show booth and room and said, I'm Emily Page. I sell packaging, asking them questions that we'll go over here in this live webinar. And as a result, I ended up getting a purchase order. So I got a purchase order at the very start of my business just by faking it. And again, I faked it and I felt okay with that because I thought, well, if I get an order, then I will buy this business. And if I don't get an order, they'll never see me again and they won't care. So when I got my first $25,000 order after the trade show, I was so excited. And I went back to Patrick, who was this friend that I had met at this networking event. And I said to Patrick, hey, I want to buy your business. I'm going to buy it through sales. I'm going to sell stuff and then give you the cash, and then I will be able to own this business. And so he said, all right, I like you. You're more fun than the other guys I was going to sell my business to. Let's do this. So I started a business. I started my business, first of all, by faking it, by taking a risk and a chance and putting myself out there. And again, when I'm saying faking it, I wasn't lying. I didn't take some kind of risk where anybody who would order from me would be in danger. I figured out ways that I would be able to help them. I knew if I could get an order, that I would be able to figure it out because I had Patrick who had already done this. So I had resources behind me. I'd figured out at least that part. So once I took the risk, was the first thing that I did. And the second thing that I did is that I went out and tested the waters with relationships. I built a business based on the people that I knew. So I picked a category where I knew I could build new and fresh relationships and where I already had some people that I could work with. So if I was to start becoming a NASA astronaut, it would be so much more difficult to start that business because I don't know anyone in that category. So starting from zero to go to 1 million, you need to start in a way where you have relationships. So having said that, that is my story. I started at $0 and I went to 1 million. And actually, I'm going to tell you literally what my numbers were. So my first year, I had $0 in revenue. And I should actually say there was like 6 months that I was building the business and had $0 of revenue. And my first order came in like what I would call the first year. So 6 months, I was practicing and figuring stuff out. And then I started that business. And between the first year, I went from $0 in revenue to $250,000 in revenue. And the second year, I made $500,000 in revenue. And I also started a second business. The third year, I went to $850,000. The fourth year to 1.1, and the fifth year to 1.2 million. Now, why am I sharing with you my revenue? Is it to brag? It's not to brag because I promise you that it was very difficult and every single thing that I did was actually a challenge. But it matters for you if you're trying to grow and scale your business from $0 to $1 million, because to scale your business, you need to start with a first step, which is building a base of revenue from new customers. And you want to be able to keep those customers going every subsequent year. So if you can make $250,000, if you can make $10,000 that first year, your goal is to first capture clients, capture them by getting them to be your customer, and then having them continue to be your customer. It is very hard to capture your first customers. And once you have them, the amount of money it takes to get new customers is so much more expensive than it is to keep them. So your goal in order to scale is to do a stair-step concept, where each year you're building on top of last year's total revenue. Okay, so that is the first thing that you need to understand in terms of the actual strategy. Because in this webinar, we're gonna go through the process, which has all the different strategies you need to succeed, the skills, and the resources to go from $0 to $1 million in your business. So in terms of the process, you want to do a stair step of building revenue on top of old customers. And when we're talking about success in a business, profit is what defines the difference between, a hobby and a business. A hobby is one where you don't need to get paid for it. You don't need to take home revenue. You're doing it for the love of the game. But a business needs to have profit. And in a math equation that determines what your profit is, your total revenue minus your total cost is what gives you your profit. And so we're going to talk about in this webinar revenue. The two things you can control that impact your revenue is your price and your quantity. So you want to be sure that, the next step I want to go over is that you need to either increase your prices or you need to increase your quantity sold in order to grow your revenue. Now, pricing, we're going to go over in this video how to increase your quantity and how to increase your price so that you can get to $1 million. First, we're going to talk about quantity. So quantity, units sold, has to do with the number of times you're putting yourself in front of people. That's the first thing you need to do to increase your quantity. Get in front of more people. Second thing is to give an offer to them. So tell them about your business, tell them what you do, tell them how they can buy from you. And the third thing is to repeat that exact same process and iterate it every single time. I know this sounds sort of trivial, but that is how simple it is to do sales, is that the number of units you sell is actually just a function of the number of times you pitch. So there's something called the law of numbers, so I'm going to go over a number of different laws that I personally believe are true about sales. You can find versions of these in other books somewhere else. I'm not the first person to come up with these ideas, but these are put in my terms. These are things that I've used to be able to get myself to go out and sell. So the first rule is the law of numbers. And it basically is that the more people you sell to, there will be a ratio, a percentage of the people that you talk to who will buy from you. So if you pitch to 100 people, if you wrote down every single time that you pitched your product and you wrote down 100 times, perhaps you will get 5 interested leads. And from those 5 interested leads, perhaps you will sell to 2 people. If you do that again, so let's say you do that 200 times, you're going to find that ratio will continue to exist. It might fluctuate a little bit, but you'll get an average. And what you'll learn from that process is that all you have to do is call 100 people to find 2 clients. So if you're trying to build your business, what you need to do is analyze how many times you're actually talking to people. So if you don't have sales, if that's your current results, the results from all of your current business activity is that you have 0 sales. The reason why is because one of the reasons why it's possible is that you're not talking to enough people. And so if you remember, hey, it's just a law of the universe that if I talk to more people, I'll increase the quantity sold. It's just a matter of time. That will give you the courage to keep going, because 1 no equals you getting closer to your yes. So I want you to keep that in mind. In terms of increasing your quantity, you want to focus on talking to a larger number of people, because that will increase your sales. It's just a law. It's the way it works. Another law that I want to share with you that should be encouraging and help you to take action is that there is a law of universality, that every single person is good at sales. I don't care who you are and where you've been and how good you are that you think that you are with people, you can be good at sales. It might be more innate to some people, but people usually want to buy from someone similar to themselves. So I personally am very outgoing and I'm very bubbly. And so there's a certain type of person who really enjoys buying from me. But there are also people who do not like buying from me. And so I want to encourage whoever you are that's watching this live webinar that whatever your personality set, people typically like to buy from people who are similar to themselves. So whoever you are, whatever your weaknesses and strengths, I promise you that there will be people who will want to buy from you. So you need to just keep going, and you need to find the people who will give you the Q, the increase in Q, people who are similar to yourself. Another law that I want to share with you that will help you to go out there and sell more is something called the law of familiarity. So the law is basically that the more people see you, the more they will accidentally feel like they're familiar with you. Meaning, if I see you and I go introduce myself to you in the lobby one day, and I say, hey, I'm Emily Page, I'm an executive coach and I help people. So that is the first time you get to meet me. That's we call that one touch. The second time you see me, maybe you see me talking on a live webinar on LinkedIn because we became friends on LinkedIn. That's the second time that you'll see me. If you see me talking to one of your friends the third time, or you see me at a barbecue, the more times that you see me, you will not be able to help it. You'll feel like you are familiar with me. And people buy from people that they trust. There's that, the more that you see a person, the more that they will be familiar with you and want to buy from you. So feel reassured that you just have to take action, get yourself out there, start talking to people. And that is the first thing that you need to do to be able to close more deals, is just go out there and make your pitch. See as many people as possible, sell your product, and then repeat and iterate it. So in terms of iterating your product, this is the last point I'm gonna make about specifically pitching products, and then we're gonna get into how to write a great pitch. There is this law of iteration, and every time you make a pitch, you will get marginally better at it. So for example, if you're saying, Emily, okay, I get it. I need to get in front of people. I need to sell as much as possible. The question that you might have would be like, well, how do I even know what to pitch? How do I know what to say? How do I know what price to charge? It's bizarre, but you will not know the answer to that until you start to sell. Because what you think makes sense, and when you first start out, you might be selling, like I was in my first business, packaging. And what I thought customers wanted, I learned was not exactly what they wanted. So originally I thought they want a box. And they do want a box, but the more that I sold the product and I tested different ways of describing what services I could offer, I started to listen to what that customer would reply and what things that I said would cause them to really respond and want to buy from me. And always, when I sold packaging, what made them want to buy from me was their personal motivation to sell more of their product. So packaging is something that, like, this is a pen, but packaging helps them to sell it. So when I would talk to a sales rep or an owner of a company, their motivation, the thing that would pull my sales, was always their sales. So I learned that only because I would pitch a product and then someone was not interested. And I'd pitch a product again. I'd call them saying, hey, do you want packaging? And people would run from me like the plague. They didn't want to talk to me when I was selling my products. They would say things very quickly with, like, they'd have an objection, like, well, we already like our packaging company. Oh, we already have packaging. Oh, we already buy from someone else. I'll send you to my procurement department, which meant that I would never get another phone call from that client. So they would give me objections, and I couldn't figure out how to get past those objections until I pivoted my pitch and I started thinking first of their motivation. That person wants to sell. So I would talk about their pain point. And I would say, hey, the opening pitch would be, hey, when is your next retail sales opportunity. When's the next moment where you could possibly sell products? And so that person who had packaging was, or who already had existing packaging, was not thinking about what they had. They were thinking about the future, what they wanted. And so they would say, oh, well, my next meeting is with Target. And I would say, what new things are you going to show to those customers at Target, to that retail buyer at Target? What do you think is going to get them really excited? And sometimes they would share with me their newest product line, but oftentimes they would say that they aren't sure yet. And so I would ask them, is there any fresh packaging that you wish that you had that would help you to sell more product? And as soon as I talked about that, what they were missing to accomplish what they wanted, they became suddenly really interested. They'd say, well, they would always think of one thing that they wish that they had that they didn't have yet. As soon as they told me that, I was able to jump in and say, you know what? I own a packaging company and I want to help you with that. You are missing samples. You're missing fresh artwork. You know what? We have a fast turnaround time and I would love to help you. So that right there became what I like to call a push versus pull sales. So in sales, you either push a customer to buy, which means you're getting in front of them, telling them about yourself, or you can create a pull, which means kind of like a vacuum where you help that customer to identify what it is that they personally need, and their pain point, their desire, their hunger is what will drive them to make a purchase and ask you for more information. So if you keep this in mind, that the more times you pitch, the law of iteration, the more times you pitch your product, the better you're going to get at closing that deal. So again, total revenue minus total cost equals profit. So if you want to make profit, the first variable that you can control in this equation is your total revenue. And the price times quantity is what gives you total revenue. So to get more money, the first things that you can focus on is either increasing your quantity or increasing your price to be able to raise your total revenue. So to increase your quantity, you have to sell more units, and to do that, you need to get in front of more people. You need to make more pitches, and you need to do that over and over again and iterate every single time. The more that you do that, the more likely it is you will be to close. And I promise that when I'm sharing with you that I went from $0 to $1 million in revenue, I'm not saying this as though to brag or to imply that I am a person who is better than anybody else. I want to say this because most social media influencers do not share the fact that they failed 1 million times before they started the business that made them famous. So, even someone like Tim Ferriss or anybody that you look up to as an emerging influencer in the category of making money, that person was not, you're just seeing that last business that they did, the encapsulated version where they skyrocketed and became famous. But before that, they had to fail 1 million times over. So in my own life, right out of school, I was interested in being an entrepreneur, and I got a job doing fundraising. So I could either have looked at that job doing fundraising as a waste of time or something that was very degrading because I felt frustrated in that position. People did not respect my work ethic. They were paying other people more money than me. They were giving me the worst tasks, and I would stay home. I would stay late, working late, and I would work so hard, and I was not getting recognition for it. So I felt frustrated, and that felt like a failure in that moment. That's one way of looking at your current job or your current business that you're still stuck in, that maybe you're failing. You're not, you're stuck. You're never going to get out of that situation. But another way of looking at it, so let's do a paradigm shift, which is a different way of looking at the same problem. If you looked at it differently and you said, what if this was something that the universe or God, or if you don't believe in God, you can take it as just a learning lesson. I personally believe in God and feel like everything works together for good. That what if this moment is actually something meant to create within me the gems, the jewels, the power, the strength to be able to go out and start my business in the future. We feel totally aware and comfortable with the concept of weightlifting, that when I lift heavier weights, that enables me in the future to lift even heavier weights. It builds muscle and strength and health. What if every job that you have before your big success is actually a stepping stone that's getting you closer to making the $1 million business? And so I want to be very transparent and vulnerable with you that it was very hard building this business to $1 million this first time. I had to Airbnb my house one time because a customer did not pay me and I didn't have enough money to pay my bills. And I was definitely not going to not pay my vendors because it was so painful for me. So to go through that humiliating process of sleeping on my office floor, Airbnb my house, I didn't even pay a cleaning lady to go in and clean the house. I did it myself. I would run over to my house between people renting my apartment. It was like a house apartment thing with like 2 bedrooms by the beach. I would rent it out, clean it myself, rush back to my office, and I would sleep in my office. I would go into my office when everyone else in this little park had closed. I would go in and sneak in there, sleep on a sleeping bag, and shower at the gym because I had to pay off a debt and I was not going to let that debt exist. So I cannot tell you how humiliating that moment was to try to sneak in and not let anyone else in our office park see me. And like sleeping at night, I would just be dripping sweat thinking about how am I going to change my life and not let this type of problem happen again. And so I think it's just helpful for anyone who's watching this who has the ambition to go from $0 in revenue to $1 million in revenue to remember that there are steps involved. And wherever you're at right now, whether you feel like you're a failure, whether you feel like you're stuck, I want to encourage you that this is actually a part of your hero's journey. This is a part of your story where you're going to be able to craft an amazing story about how you had nothing. You came from nothing. You had a terrible job and you suddenly figured it out and you found your passion and you built $1 million business. So be encouraged that, like I used 3 steps to build my business from 0 to $1 million. And the first one was this process. And the process was to constantly go out there and make new pitches, to try to control the quantity of people that I was seeing, and to pitch and iterate as many times as possible. And to do that, you need to know these laws, these fundamental laws of sales, and believe that if you don't believe these laws, you will never take action. If you mentally do not believe that the number of times that you sell or make a pitch is going to have a direct correlation with the amount of results that you get, you will never go out and find new people because 1 no will discourage you. 10 no's will discourage you. If you don't believe that everyone can be good at sales, you will start to accept the lie that, hey, I'm terrible at this. I'll never be good at it. So you won't keep selling your product or your business. So it might sound woo-woo to focus on your mentality and talk about these laws of the universe, and it might feel like it's not actionable enough. Like, Emily, get to the meat of this talk. I'm just promising you that is the meat of the talk. It's that simple to create revenue, is that you just have to meet as many people as possible, that are your target customer, make as many pitches as possible, and repeat and iterate. So like every time you just do that over and over again and work on getting better, and you will be able to generate more sales. So that's the first step in the process. And for anybody out there who's like, okay, I get it, but I still feel like I need to work on it, I'm offering free consulting to anybody who is interested. And for anyone who attends right now, you can go to my website, emilyannpage.com, and sign up for 2 sessions of free consulting. So the first session, I will send you a bunch of questions and help you to get clear on what it is that your steps need to be in order for you to regularly be taking action. And then we will do a second call where I'll create accountability and help you to iterate on that process. So if you're interested and you want to work with me, I'm giving away free consulting, 2 sessions, which is basically 1 month's worth of work for anybody who is watching. So go to emilyannpage.com if you are interested to sign up. Okay, so the first thing I said I was going to tell you was the process. So you need to go through that process. It's that simple. Just find as many people as possible that are your target customers, make your pitch, and do that again and iterate. That's the simple process for sales and how do you get to $1 million. And I told you what you had to believe in order to be able to execute on that process. So now that was like point number one, step number one. And step number two is that there are certain skills you need to utilize to be able to be good at doing step number one. Because, and with these skills specifically, are like an art form. And this is the part where some people are definitely naturally, innately better at. And therefore, you need to practice this part over and over again so that you can get good at these specific skills. And these skills are the art of building rapport, meaning making a person like and trust you. So like and trust comes from, I mentioned that you can just show up. Doesn't matter what your personality or how hard you work at it. Just by showing up, there's a law of the universe that people will start to like you. So that's something you can count on in terms of your process. But in terms of actually making people fall in love with you, really getting excited and enthusiastic about your product, that's a skill. It's an art form. So let's talk about what the art form is. The first art form skill that you must master is the art of listening. And this skill actually will help you in every single relationship that you have, because people innately like people who listen to them. They will feel like it's the best conversation if you stop and listen to a person. So let's say you're going on a date. Let's apply the art of listening to when you're trying to woo someone to be your romantic partner. If you spend more time asking questions, listening intently to what they have to say, watching and studying them, listening and replicating, really responding to them, I promise you that by itself, doing nothing else, will make more people find you appealing. So because today what we're talking about is how to go from $0 in revenue to $1 million in revenue, which I've done with 3 steps. This is the first point under step number 2, which is the skills of listening, the art of listening. So how do you do this? I'm going to tell it to you really quickly. Again, you must ask questions. That is the key. So the art of asking questions is you can't just ask random questions that don't feel like you've been listening to and building on the story and the conversation of a person. You need to ask questions that are helping them. You want to lead them basically from what they're describing to where you want to take them. So every person that you're trying to sell to currently has a problem. So you need to first ask them questions about where they are. So if you're selling business skills or whether you're selling, home decor, you want to ask them questions within that category. Where are you? What's going on? Are you building a house? Where are you? What is your current problem? And then you want to ask them questions about where they want to go. So again, if you're selling home decor, so they might say, hey, I bought a brand new house. I don't like the way that it looks. It's kind of ugly and dated. And then you ask them about where they want to go. So what style of home do you like? Give me some examples of a home that really gets you excited. What type of magazines do you shop? You want to ask questions to understand where they are and where they want to go. And the more that you listen to those pain points, the better you're going to be at crafting a sales pitch and at making that person like you. They just won't be able to help it. They will like you better the more that you listen. And the questions you ask should be targeted towards understanding where they are and where they want to go. So in terms of, again, the skills that you need to go from 0 to $1 million in revenue is also the art of understanding the art of personalities, the art of understanding personalities. So there are a billion different ways of analyzing personality types. The one I'm going to talk about today is by Chocom Group. It's called the social styles modality. And the concept is we can break all the people in the world into 4 different types of communication, that they prefer 4 types of communication. And it's important to understand this because you might walk in, let's say you're selling mattresses and a new client comes in. And if you don't recognize the fact that that person might want a specific type of communication, you might use your own preferred style and miss an opportunity to sell. So there are 4 different types. The first one is an analytical. An analytical person likes to have all of the data. They want to know, they're going to ask every single piece of information. They're going to want to know where that mattress is made. How much does it cost? How long does it take to get there? They're going to want to know just every single stinking detail that's possible. And they probably will have learned about that mattress before they even walked in by researching it on the internet because they like data. And that type of person is really driven by data in making decisions. So when you meet a person like that, they're typically, a little more organized, ask a lot of questions. Your goal needs to be to find out what questions are missing. What things don't you know that you want to know to be able to close that deal? So you want to ask them about what information do you need to know to believe that this is the best sale for you? Another type of personality is a driver, and that person just wants to get to the point. What is the point of what you're talking about, and how do you get to it? So to sell to a driver, you want to give them the net results. They just want to know, this mattress is the best, has won 5 awards over the past 10 years, and it's this much dollars. And we'll get it to you at this point. So they don't want to talk to you for 30 minutes to an hour. They want to get in and get out. And you can tell that person by how abrupt and curt they are in their conversation. If they're getting annoyed, the more that you talk, they're a driver. So pick up on that, those emotional cues, those real communication clues, and cut to this chase. With an amiable person does not like conflict, they like people. And so you can tell that because they want to talk about the stories of their family, they want to talk about your family, the recent vacation, they're going to be laughing. You can tell that they get nervous when you try to press them for any kind of conflict, negotiating the price. So you want to keep that in mind, that if a person seems to be really relationship driven, you want to be focused on being relational back. Ask them more questions about their family if they start talking about their family, because that's what they want to communicate about. That's what will drive their decision making too. So sell that mattress based on who's going to be sleeping on this mattress. Wouldn't this mattress look amazing in your home? Wouldn't your kids have fun jumping on that bed? The fourth type of personality is someone who's expressive. And so that person is not detail-oriented. They're usually very emotionally driven. They like to get recognition, and they like to talk about ideas. So that means it's really going to be hard to kind of pin them down. They're going to be a little bit all over the place. And the way that you talk to that kind of a person is that they just want to talk. They want to talk for hours. So you want to act like you're so sociable, and you're just really, that you just give them a lot of compliments, and constantly, no matter what they're doing, bring them back to the fact that they are going to love the prestige of having this type of a mattress. So these 4 types of personalities, if you wanted to get more information about them, go look it up. It's called TRACOM Group, a social styles model. And just by studying this, it will really help you to understand 4 types of customers that you can encounter and how to market and sell to them, because they have different needs and different ways that you can close them. So in terms of that, the other thing so that is also an art, to be able to identify the type of people walking into your office or your store and be able to put them into one of those 4 categories so that you can better communicate to them. And that is an art. You must study people, you must practice that, and you must respond to the people who are walking in and match their modalities, no matter how you feel. So the next step in going from $0 to $1 million in terms of skills is the art of crafting a great pitch. Now, this topic by itself, I will lead another webinar at a different time. If you're interested, please go ahead and direct message me. I'd be so curious, interested to see who wants to attend something like that. But a great pitch, how do you craft a great pitch? So the first thing I want to point out is that everybody takes action based on what they want, not based on what they need. We all need to go to the gym. We all need to eat more broccoli, but we don't necessarily do that. We might eat something like a snack based on what we're feeling in that moment is going to make us feel good. It's our desires, whether it's for pleasure or for pain, that motivate us taking action. So if you want to craft a great pitch, you want to understand how people want to feel when they are enjoying your product. And so you want to craft your marketing based on addressing how your product, so you're going to bridge the gap, your product will meet that pain point, will alleviate that pain point, or give them massive pleasure. And so you want to show them with pictures. So for example, if a person is we're talking about I was recently talking to a customer in my packaging company about snoring and a snoring aid. And the packaging for a lot of snoring products is not just a picture of something that goes on your nose. It's a picture of a person enjoying excellent sleep, because that is what a person wants to feel. It's the outcome that they want to have, and showing a picture of a person having great relaxation and not waking up their partner. Those are the benefits of that product. So effectively crafting your pitch, it should address the pain points or the pleasure points of your target customer. So how do you identify what those things are? So first and foremost, there's an exercise that I call the motivation model. So if you want more information about it, again, DM me or email me or sign up for a consulting call, and we can do this specifically for your product. But there are circumstances that a person is going through. So for example, they cannot sleep. So the first step in this model is to write the word circumstances. And so your customer, whatever you're trying to solve, whether it's a beverage, say, that person's thirsty, you write out that in the circumstances. And then you go under and you write beliefs. So circumstances, beliefs, feelings, actions, and results. And so you want to say their circumstances are that they're thirsty or that they need to sleep. And then you want to write the results at the bottom. Like, what are they trying to get to? What is the thing that they're trying to feel? They're trying to get amazing sleep. They're trying to not bother their partner. They're trying to have their thirst satisfied. You want to write the results at the bottom of this 5-point motivation model. And so between their circumstances and the results that they want to have, you want to fill in the actions that they would have to take to get these results, which is above. So it goes circumstances, beliefs, feelings, actions, results. The actions that they would need to take above, you want to write that down. And then above that, it's the feelings. What are the feelings that they would need to have to be able to take those actions? And what are the beliefs that they would have to have those feelings? So when you're designing your packaging, people are always going to take their actions based on what they feel and based on what they believe. So you can fill that in to craft an excellent pitch. And I feel like this particular process will take by itself a whole half an hour to really craft your excellent pitch. But I want to reassure you that whenever you're crafting your pitch, you want to focus on creating results and what is that person trying to feel. You need to be very clear on that. And if you don't have clarity, take this circumstances, this motivation model, and go talk to customers. Go talk to people who've already bought from you. Go talk to people who would possibly be interested in buying from you, and get really clear on what they feel, the actions that they would be taking with your product, like buying it, drinking it, the results that they want to create, and therefore the beliefs that they have to be able to get these results. And when you use that, you'll get the vocabulary to help yourself craft a very powerful and motivating pitch. So I want to ask everyone who's currently watching, say, hey, how confident do you feel on a 0 to 10 scale of your current pitch? So if you can leave that in the chat, I'd be super curious to hear about how confident you feel on a scale from 0 to 10 of the success and close rate of your current pitch. And if you have any questions about your pitch and how to make it better, I'd love to also see that posted in the chat as well. And then when you post that, I'll be able to address it at the very end, and we can maybe even talk about your specific product and craft a pitch for you if you're interested. Again, I offer consulting if you want to also dig even deeper at emilyannpage.com, and you can sign up for 2 different sessions within the month to be able to work on and craft your better pitch. And I'm offering this to anybody who's here live on this webinar. So in terms of the resources, the third step I used to go from 0 to $1 million in revenue was to tap into resources that I did not personally have. So whenever you're starting a business, it can feel like you have nothing, whether you don't feel like you have enough money, you don't have enough expertise, you don't know, you have a problem that comes up with a customer or a client, and you don't know how to fix that problem. So you can feel isolated, you can feel stuck, you can feel alone going from 0 to $1 million in revenue. And so the next step that you need to have is you need to identify your resources and tap into them. So how do you do that? The first thing you need to do, your first and foremost resource, is actually your internal mentality and your emotional state. And please don't think this is woo-woo. Please don't just like check out and think I'm crazy. But literally, your mentality is the number one thing driving your sales. When you have care, clarity, and confidence, when you're constantly, whenever you're in front of a customer, communicating that you care about them, that you're clear on what they want and what you have to offer, and that you're confident it can help them, these things are what cause a person to decide that they want to buy from you and that you're worth trusting. So you need to be able to do those things only when you have when you have taken care of your own mentality. When you're afraid, when you're unconfident in your product, when you're unclear, when you're so worried about yourself, you're not caring about your clients, you can't close anything. No one wants to buy from you. No one wants to be with you. No one wants to listen to your sales pitch. It's your energy that magnetically draws people in. So taking care of your internal self is the number one thing in terms of resources that you have to maintain and tap into. If you are feeling discouraged, in those moments when you're feeling mentally down, what's the first thing you could do? 100% go for a run or do a workout. Taking physical care of your body, like letting yourself get some sleep, eating a healthy meal, going out and seeing some friends, something physical that causes you to have fun, to shake off that bad energy, will always elevate your spirits. So the first thing that you could do to make sure you create care and clarity and confidence is to go do something physical and work out, or sleep, or do something to take care of your physical body. Like drink some water. The next thing that you can do is to find a friend a mentor, or hire a coach where you can talk through the current things that are giving you stress. When I started my business, my sister was sick. I didn't have a job. I didn't know what I was doing. Those things were very emotionally draining for me, and they had nothing to do with my business, but they were affecting my mentality and my self-confidence. So to go and find friends who will advocate for you, who will encourage you, and will bless you, that is really important, to talk to other people who will mentally help you to get centered. So find someone else to help you. And that brings me to resource number 2. When it comes to going from $0 to $1 million, I'm saying that there is a process, there are skills, and there are resources that you need to have in place, no matter what business you have. And this second resource is other people. So you might say that you need to know information, like I need to know the best accounting software. I need to know what to do when a client is sent me a letter to sue me. That information you can type on the internet and go read as much information as you want. But first of all, that information is written by people. So I'm saying that people are a resource that you need to cultivate. But it's really hard for you to know on the internet or on a YouTube channel or even in a book. To get that information is very challenging. And the best way to go about and get information is always going to be developing relationships with people who have already gone through that process. Because those people can tell you, without you having to read a whole book, that they tried steps 1 through 3 and it didn't work for them in this category of the business. Not every business is the same. So if you are trying to get information just by reading, I promise you, you're not going to get the information as fast or as efficient or effective as if you find people in your life. You cultivate people as a relationship, a network of people who are either successful in your business, like they're farther ahead than you, but they're not competing with you, or people who have retired, or people who are in business in a different category. You need to find people and build relationships with them for you to be able to have resources. Because I promise you, there are people out there, if you don't have money for your business idea and you're struggling with that, I promise you, there are people out there who have money and who will give it to a person who has care, clarity, and confidence. So I would say be sure that you're constantly making time every week to curate amazing relationships. If you're currently lacking relationships, you can hire a coach. Okay, I'm a coach, executive coach. You can hire me. You can also go to an alumni group. Let's say you graduated from a certain high school, or you graduated from a certain college or grad school. Reach out to people in your alumni group. You can also attend local meetups for people within your category. So Even in a COVID world, they have online meetups, they have webinars where you can attend and raise your hand to get questions and help. And the very last and most challenging, but still an option is to go through social media. Oh my goodness, it's incredible how you can find people on YouTube. Like, how did you find me here? I'm on YouTube making myself available. You could do the same thing. Go make yourself available on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and reach out to people who are succeeding in categories that you'd like to, and follow them, build relationships with them, find ways of adding value to their lives, give them offers to help them without exchange of money, and you will build relationships with those people, and they will want to give back to you because of the law of reciprocity. So the resources that you feel you're lacking in your business, I promise you that they are somewhere else out there in the people that you are interested in talking to. So having said all of that, those are the general things that I did to be able to build not only one business from $0 to $1 million, but also a second business that I owned. I owned another business and I built it from $0 to $1 million. And I've also done this for a lot of different clients, whether they were at $0 to $1 million or they were at $1 million and we had to 2x or 5x their business. These steps and these processes you can constantly repeat, and they will help you to go from 0 or wherever you are in your business to $1 million. And it's Michael Jordan who said that even though he's like world famous as being one of the best basketball players in the world, to be the best, you must constantly come back to and repeat the basics. The fundamentals are the thing that define an excellent golfer, a world-class public speaker, a famous actress. These people are excellent because they actually come back regularly to practice the fundamentals. So what we just went over today are the fundamentals of growing anything, any business from 0 or anywhere that you're at to a larger scale. So I hope that those things were encouraging to you, no matter where you are in your business, that you can do this. The resources are already inside of you. They're around you in the relationships that you have, and they're accessible. And just by repeating these skills over and over again, by repeating this process, you can grow any business. And I want to encourage you also that it always takes longer than you think it will. We watch people on TV and on Instagram, and these social media platforms make it seem like people are overnight successes, or that they are constantly perfect and never failing, because we see just a curated picture of a person's life. But I promise you that all of the apps that make their pictures look perfect, or the parts that they're telling on the internet is just the best. They're only telling you the peak of the mountain. They are not telling you the valleys on either side of that mountain. So wherever you're at, don't be discouraged when you see other people massively successful and feel, why am I not there? Because you are on your way. And as long as you keep that in mind and you remember that life is filled with the valleys are what make mountains. Otherwise, we'd have just plains. You have to go down in order to come back up. And no matter where you are on that journey, that your consistency of continually selling your product, working on it and iterating it is what's going to take you to where your dreams are for your business. So I hope that encouraged you in some way, me sharing my personal story and what I did to be able to grow a few different businesses from 0 to $1 million. If you are interested in asking me any questions, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes, and you can post your questions here in the live chat. You can also DM me or email me through info@emilyannpage.com, or go to my website, emilyannpage.com, to sign up for growth consulting. And again, I'm willing to meet with anyone who watched this webinar and offer a month's worth of coaching. So that means we would meet twice in a month. And the first time we would go over the principles of this webinar and where you're at, understand where you're at, and make a plan so that you can grow. And then the second time we'll create accountability, and we'll come in and ask you, hey, did you do those things that we discussed? What worked, what didn't? And we'll iterate to help you get better at crafting your pitch and following through and finding as many people as possible to talk to. So I hope that's encouraging to you. Please feel free to post where the webinar is over, and you're welcome to leave any questions that you have in the live chat. I'm going to go check this here right now to see if anyone has posted anything. And if you're interested, please do visit my website. It's there in the chat for you. And I appreciate you being here today, and yeah, thanks for just watching and listening and hearing the journey. Love to hear if you had any questions or if there's anything that you wanted to share about your business and your life. So thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions? Let me see. I'm typing right here. Does anyone have any questions as I'm sitting here live? Does anyone want to ask any questions about their business or about applying any of the things we just talked about? We just went over how to go from $0 to $1 million in revenue, and I shared the 3 steps that I took. Does anyone have any questions? Hi, yes. I would love to know how this works for marketplaces. Are you referring to marketplaces that are are you talking about something like going into a retail store, or are you talking about selling at something like a farmer's market? Oh, okay, great. So you said, I don't make my own products, I sell other brands, and you are a retailer. So you're interested in understanding how some of this applies to selling products inside of a retail environment. How do you position your products? How do you sell to customers who are coming into the store? This is a great, I'm so glad you brought this question up. I carry 30 plus brands on my e-commerce site. Okay, so it's a online store, right? Okay. If it's an online store, this is a great question. So the first place that I'm going to come to is that, yes, okay, Pretty Well Beauty says yes, that she or he is an online store or online commerce retailer that sells 30 brands. So let's come back to the first point, which is the process. So the process of sales for any business is to get in front of as many customers. Okay, great. To get in front of as many customers as possible, to make them offers, and to iterate that process. So the first thing you need to do, obviously, is get your website and your products in front of as many people. And I promise you that the more times you're in front of people, the more sales that you're going to get. And everyone is familiar with like Google ads or Facebook ads. And the concept behind it is that if you sell and get your product in front of 1,000 people, you're going to be able to sell some fraction or ratio of that. And the more effective your ad is, the more effective your close rate. So to apply this in the most simple way for online commerce only businesses, your goal is to find ways of selling your product. So using something like a Google ad or Facebook ad to get in front of as many people as possible. And then to be able to, so I'll get to that next. But to get to as many people as possible, and you want to test your pitch. So Facebook, Google, these types of companies, for something as little as $20 will allow you to do something called A/B split testing, where you can for the day do an advertisement and test to see which one has the best pitch. And it will get you in front of, sometimes even 1,000 people for $20. And you obviously want to target, you don't want to just get in front of as many people as possible who are not related to you or interested in buying your product. You want to get in front of people who are your target audience. And Facebook has a great process of helping you to iterate and identify who is your target audience, and make sure, for example, with beauty products, it's going to probably be men and women who enjoy beauty. And there are Facebook groups that people are currently dwelling in where you can advertise to target those people. But let's say you have zero money and you really don't have money for a budget. The other ways that you can get in front of those people is to find where those people are hanging out. So I was trying to not get too long-winded on this webinar, but so I didn't go over something called the law of the flock. So the law of the flock is that your target customer maybe is interested in beauty. And there are groups where these people all get together to share their common interest. And so something might be like a beauty group, a beauty blog, the following and subscribing to a YouTube channel where there are beauty influencers. Hold on, I'm plugging this in. There we go. Got to plug in my computer. So there are people who are interested in your products who've already indicated, I'm interested in beauty products. I'm interested in taking care of myself. And they are hanging out and discussing their interests in other places. So if you want to get in front of as many people as possible, you want to figure out and take a brainstorming session, where are these people hanging out? So to start, you would go to something like Google, Facebook. You'd want to go onto YouTube, Yelp, and Pinterest, and type in product names like what you currently have. So if you're selling hairspray or makeup, you would type into those locations how to do your best makeup products, best new products trending in 2020. You can do the same thing on TikTok. Like TikTok is incredible, an incredible viral place where you can advertise, where people are advertising and talking about their favorite beauty products. So first you find where your customer is hanging out. They are hanging out in those locations, and write it down. Like especially it's going to be different depending on whatever products you sell. But write down where you find these people and what groups they're under, what tags they have in Pinterest. There's Pinterest boards, which are alternatives to groups. Find out, write a list of where those people are hanging out. So that's step number one. Then step number two is that you can reach out to people who already have your network, who will not be competitors with you, but will be interested in promoting your product. So who could that be? A great example is that influencers, for example, love reviewing products for free. It makes them look like they're famous. It gives them free things. So you can reach out to people who are influencers who have already a massive platform, offer them a free product or offer them a discount code to promote your company. So you could either give them a product that you're selling and say that it's, please promote Pretty Well Beauty, or you can give them something like, what do they call it? A referral code. So some of these influencers are interested in making money. So if you're selling products that maybe they have already promoted, you can tell them, hey, I love that you're doing this. If you are interested in getting any income, extra income, here's a promotion code where if your followers come to my website to buy this shampoo that you love, you will get 5% revenue off of the sales, and your customer will get 5% off. So that's something that would be very motivating for that social media influencer to be able to share and promote your product or your company without you having to spend that much money. Because as long as you're making product on the sales of your product, you're going to be doing well. And people might not buy just one product when they come to your website. They might buy all 30 plus brands that you're currently carrying on your e-commerce page. Now, Pretty Well Beauty, if you wanted to enter your website into the chat, I would be more than happy to go in and even look at it right now and be able to also give you some very specific recommendations. But that's the first thing, is to find where your customers are already hanging out, because of the law of the flock. They're somewhere out there talking about products like yours, or talking about things that are similar to yours, and going to find those places and hanging out there. So for example, even this is another idea of what you could do. You go to a Facebook group where people talk about beauty products, and you join that group. And you don't even need to sell to them. You don't even need to say, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, which is like an overt, obvious, kind of aggressive way of selling. You could talk about how this is our, you could do videos yourself, YouTube videos about your favorite products and why you're carrying them and how they help your skin, how they help your hair, really focusing on adding value to the customer. And share that video in that Facebook group and say, hey, have you tried this product? What do you think about it? I'd love to get your reviews on this product. I'd love to see videos of you doing these things. Tell me more about it. So, and you can also do something like a giveaway in that Facebook group. You can say, hey, for the first, we're doing a big giveaway for the first 5 people who post a video of themselves using this product. We're going to give them, and also tagging us at Pretty Well Beauty and our website, we'll give away, 1 free bottle. And that cost is very low in comparison to the amount of visibility that you're going to get. So to figure out the best method for yourself, you really have to go to all of these different platforms and test them and observe possibly what other people are doing. Another way that you can find influencers is to go to brands that you're currently carrying and find the people who are the biggest fans of those brands. That they will already have tagged Avita, like if you're selling Avita shampoo. If you go to Avita, hashtag Avita, you'll see influencers and people who are very popular who have already posted with that hashtag or with the Avita @ symbol, tagging that company. So you can go to those people because they've already disclosed to the whole entire world that they're massive fans, and share with them your website, ask them for feedback. Developing a relationship with someone is the best way to convert and result in sales. So finding ways that are not necessarily salesy, but reaching out to add value to them can make a world of difference. And Pretty Well Beauty, the last thing I'm going to share with you is that when I started my business, I met with all of these incredible businesses that were so much bigger than me. I was a 1-person operation at the time. I had one mentor named Patrick who, he would come in and help me with things, but I was doing it myself. And I was meeting with companies like Hershey's, Pro Flowers, Haribo, which is an incredibly massive gummy bear candy company. I did not feel that I had the right to talk to these people. Why would they ever reply to an email from me? Why would they let me sit next to them and talk to them at a trade show? So what I did is I started focusing. I forgot the fact that I'm trying to sell anything and focus on what was their pain point. So a few of them said, hey, I'm trying, I worked with Peeps, the company that does Peeps, called their LLC is called Just Born. They make Peeps candies, which are those little marshmallow, famous Easter gummies or marshmallow candies. So I talked to them and they said, gosh, we really need, I asked them what their next sales opportunity. They said they had a holiday giveaway and they just needed a box that would be a good gift box. So I went on the internet and started finding pictures of really cool boxes that would be a great giveaway. Those were not even boxes that I had made. I found resources and pictures and ideas from all over the internet. I put it together in a PowerPoint presentation that was really simple. And I sent it to them and said, hey, I heard you say that you wanted some inspiration for giftable packaging. And so here, I took that to heart. I spent 30 minutes and I searched the internet, and here's some ideas that to me really represent your company and that might be of great value to you. Give me a call if you want to talk about how we could help you get that done. So that was a way where I sort of did their job for them. The person that I was talking to was an employee of a different company. Their success was dependent on coming up with a great idea. So I went and I listened to what their pain point was, and I took care of it for them. I gave them some inspiration. And all they had to do was call me back and say, hey, yeah, I really like that box. It was that simple. So once they said that, they knew that I wouldn't send them something if I didn't know how to do it myself. And so when they replied back, I said, cool, you want to give me an opportunity to quote on this box for you because I would love to be the vendor who brings this vision to life. So that cost me really nothing but my time, me showing up and adding value. So you, Pretty Well Beauty, could do the exact same thing. You can go through and, for example, find an influencer and say, hey, what is the #1 product that you wish that you had, that you like? What is your biggest beauty pain point? A product, like a category where you don't have a product that you absolutely love. Find something where they don't have something they're in love with and ask them like, hey, so if they say, hey, I've got really dry scalp, I don't like my shampoo. The shampoo doesn't smell good. Offer to send them a couple of other brands that they could try and say, like, these are brands that we currently carry that I am in love with, and give them more information. Tell them like, hey, I tried this one and I didn't like it. And I tried this one and this was the one that I landed on. That type of information will help them. And so that will give them, you could even tell them about brands that you tried that you didn't love, that you don't carry, and why you don't carry them. And then get to the point where you're carrying one of them and say, hey, look, if you want to try a sample, I would be more than happy to send that to you for free. If you end up loving it, then I will send you a larger bottle, and I would love it if you could promote our company as a great place for people to shop for beauty products. That right there is the most relational, loving, kind, like interested way of getting in front of someone that will make them feel thankful, and you'll build a long-term relationship with them. So that process will 100%, I guarantee, work. It won't work 100% of the time because there's a sales ratio where you're gonna try that 10 times and you'll get 1 or 2 people who will respond to it. And so if you want to be scientific about growing your business, you need to treat it like a science. And you need to write down, okay, here's my pen. I'm gonna write down the day that I'm doing this, who I'm reaching out to. Use an Excel spreadsheet so it forces you to be scientific. I reached out to 10 influencers. I did it on these dates. I gave them this offer. This offer cost me $10. In total, this is how much in revenue I generated. This idea works or does not work. So I think that's also one of the challenges that we as entrepreneurs face, is that we don't always, we let it sometimes be an emotional process, sales, but it's not. It's a science. The art is in the implementation of the science, but it's a science. It's literally just getting in front of people and making offers and then improving on that and doing it again. So I hope that's encouraging to you, Pretty Well Beauty. I appreciate you asking a question and taking the time to share what you're working on. If you wanted to email me or sign up for a consult, we can work specifically, again, a free consult on my website, which is in the chat, the link, emilyannpage.com. You're welcome to, and I'd be happy to talk more specifically about any of the other issues that came up that we didn't get to talk about yet. And I also would love it if you sent me your company. I'd love to go take a look and see what you have. Is there any other questions from anyone else up there? Anyone else out there? Let's see. Any other questions? Oh, I'm so glad, Pretty Well Beauty, that you signed up for a consult. That's great. I can't wait to talk to you further. Is there anyone else out there who wants to touch base and ask a question? Because I'm going to sign off pretty soon. Okay. Well, I'm going to take that as a we're done, and I appreciate everyone who joined me today. I wish you the best in growing your business, and thank you for joining me, and I can't wait to touch base with you some other time. Bye.